Okay. So there was issue with the internet connection. Sorry, I'm internet connection. I am helpless. I cannot do anything. Okay. Okay. You know, Shahidi Divas. Shahidi Divas. So Martyrs Day. Actually, 2 days in India we will celebrate it as the Martyrs Day. So it is one is the execution day of Bhagat Singh and his associates, and the next is the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, yeah. So you know this Bhagat Singh and Rajguru Sukhdev, they were involved in murder of Saunders, who was they thought that actually that person was Scott. Who is Scott? Scott is a person who was responsible for the death of the Lajpat Rai, Lala Lajpat Rai, who is called as Sher of Punjab. And this Lajpat Rai was, protesting against the Simon Commission. So he was participating in the anti-Simon Commission agitation. And you know the total history within 6 or 7 minutes I will read. And there is information which we don't know that you try to make a note of that. Every year, of course, these people are involved in two cases. One is murder of Saunders, and the second is throwing bombs in the Central Legislative Assembly. When it was discussing the bill, what was the name of that bill? Trade Bill and Public Safety Bill. Okay. Every year, Shahidi Divas, also known as Martyrs Day or Sarvodaya Day, remember, is observed on 23rd March. This day should not be confused with the Martyrs Day observed on 30th January, the day Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. And see, assassinated is the term used for killing of a great personality. Indira Gandhi was assassinated. Okay? And you know who killed Mahatma Gandhi? Okay? Nathuram Godse. Now, it was on this day that Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were executed by the British government in 1931. They were hanged to death for assassinating John Saunders. They mistakenly thought him as the Scot because all whites were alike. A British police officer in 1928, they had mistaken him for British Police Superintendent James Scott. And this Scott was responsible for the death of Lala Lajpat Rai because he ordered for the lathi charge. Because of the blows of that lathis, Lala Lajpat Rai died in the hospital in later days. It was Scott who had ordered lathi charge, which eventually led to the death of Lala Lajpat Rai. While Bhagat Singh, who had publicly announced avenging Lala Lajpat Rai's death, went into hiding for many months. And you know the main reason behind them getting court arrested, because the police were harassing the friends and relatives of the Bhagat Singh after this case. So they wanted to get themselves court arrested. He resurfaced along with an associate Batukeshwar Datta, and the two in April 1929 set off two explosive devices inside the Central Legislative Assembly in Delhi, where it was discussing the Trade Dispute Bill and also Public Safety Bill. Okay, and even we have discussed in course of this case, all the inmates of Lahore prison, they will observe a protest and also fast on to death, and one person died in course of time because these people were demanding the status of political prisoners. And which person died by observing fast for more than 60 days? What is the name of that person? Anybody in this class? Yes, Bhagavati, correct. I'm very sorry we lost precious time because of technical glitch. Even if I take two internets also, no use. Yes, Jatin Das. Jatin Das. Okay? Yes. Allowed? Okay. Set off two explosive devices inside the Central Legislative Assembly in Delhi. Allowed themselves to be arrested while shouting the famous slogan, Inquilab Jindabad, or Long Live the Revolution. Their lives inspired countless youth, and in their death, they set an example. They carved out their own path for independence, where individual heroism and their aggressive need to do something for the nation stood out, departing from the path followed by the Congress leaders, because earlier Congress leaders followed the moderate path. Moderate. PPP. Congress leaders wanted to solve their demands through the constitutional means. Yeah. And you know who was Bhagat Singh? Early life. Born as Baganwala. Sometimes they may ask, original name of Bhagat Singh. 26 September 1907. Bhagat Singh grew up in a petty bourgeois family. What is the meaning of bourgeois? Means almost all middle class and a small middle class. Of Sandhu Jat, settled in the Jalandhar Doab district. What is the meaning of Doab? What is the meaning of Doab? What is the meaning of Doab? Swatikar. What is the meaning of Doab? Doab. Doab. What is the meaning of Doab? Doab. The place between the two rivers is called as the Doab. And automatically it will be fertile, and even it is supported by the river water. Automatically you will have the prosperous agriculture. Okay. We have discussed in Punjab, Haryana plains various Doabs, Bisht, Bari, Rachna, Chej, Sindh Sagar in our routine geography classes. Okay. Now, he belonged to a generation that was to intervene between two decisive phases of the Indian national movement. The phase of the extremism of Lal Bal Pal and the Gandhian phase of non-violent mass movement. See, the period from 1885 to 1905 in the freedom struggle is called as the moderate phase. From 1905 to 1919 until Gandhi enters the Indian freedom struggle, it is called as the extremist phase. But in this phase, Lal Bal Pal are very important. After this phase, in the Gandhian era also, you are having many revolutionary activities. In Punjab, led by, Bhagat Singh, okay? And even you are having in the UP, our Chandrasekhar Azad, and in Bengal, Surya Sen, okay? Yes. Role in freedom struggle. In 1923, Bhagat Singh joined the National College Lahore, which was founded and managed by the Lala Lajpat Rai and Bhai Parmananda. Why these national colleges were established? Swatikar. 20 crores. Why this? See, national colleges were established because we boycotted the British schools and colleges in course of the non-cooperation movement. And you know, it was started by the Lala Lajpat Rai. And even Lala Lajpat Rai was the first president of All India Trade Union Council. It is also very important. And he is also the editor of the paper, the Punjabi. And even is also called as Sher-e-Punjab. Okay? Yes. The college was set up as an alternative to the institutions run by the government, bringing to the fields of education the idea of Swadeshi. In 1924 in Kanpur, he became a member of the Hindustan Republican Association. It was established by Sachindra Sanyal. In course of time, these members will establish the Hindustan Socialistic Republic Association. In between, you are having the Punjab Naujawan Sabha. Okay? Yes. You remember Hindustan Republican Association started by Sachindranath Sanyal. A year later, the main organizer of the association was Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh became very close to him. It was as a member of HRA that Bhagat Singh began to take seriously the philosophy of the bomb. And what is the first act of the members of the Hindustan Republican Association? Anybody? Act of this Hindustan HRA. Anybody? Yes, Swatigaru, but what is the name? Kakori conspiracy case. A train robbery at the Kakori, and it was asked in many examinations. Okay? And in that conspiracy case, we have discussed 4 members were given the death sentence. 4 members were given the death sentence. Not this Bhagat Singh Andi. 4 members were given the death sentence. Who are they? 4 members. Ram Prasad Bismil, Rajendra Lahiri, Roshan Lal, Ashfaqullah Khan. And Chandrasekhar Azad, these people were the absconders. Chandrasekhar Azad was the absconder. Okay, no issue. Singh began to take seriously the philosophy of the bomb. Revolutionary Bhagwati Charan Vora wrote the famous article Philosophy of the Bomb. You may get the question. Who wrote the article Philosophy of the Bomb? Bhagwati Charan Vora. Okay. Including the philosophy of the bomb, he authored 3 important political documents. The other 2 were Manifesto of Naujawan Sabha and Manifesto of HSRA. You may encounter these questions. You know what is the manifesto? The objective. It is called as the manifesto. Even the political parties will also release their manifesto in course of the elections. Armed revolution was understood to be the only weapon with which to fight British imperialism. In 1925, Bhagat Singh returned to Lahore, and within the next year, he and his colleagues started a militant youth organization called the Naujawan Bharat Sabha. Naujawan Bharat Sabha. In April 1926, Bhagat Singh established contact with Sohan Singh Josh and through him the Workers and Peasant Party, which brought out the monthly magazine Kirti in Punjabi. We have not discussed this in our routine classes. So UPSC aspirants try to make a note of this. For the next year, Bhagat Singh worked with Josh and joined the editorial board of Kirti. You can remember very easily. Kirti, it is a what you call in Telugu, name and fame. Or you remember it as a name of a girl. It would be very easy. Okay. And in 1927, he was first arrested on charges of association with the Kakori case. Just now we have discussed Kakori conspiracy case. Accused for an article written under the pseudonym Vidrohi Rebel, he was also accused of being responsible for a bomb explosion at Lahore during the Dasara festival, Dasara fair. In 1928, Bhagat Singh changed the name of HRA to Hindustan Socialistic Republican Nation. In 1930, when Azad was sought, HSRA collapsed. Of course, Azad was the mastermind behind the establishment of the HSRA. And you know, Azad will try to blast a train in which Viceroy was traveling. We have discussed. And it is said that Azad died at Alfred Park in an encounter. And some people say that he committed suicide. Okay. His time in the prison was spent protesting, seeking better living conditions for inmates. Bhagat Singh and his associates demanded good conditions, good food, good living conditions for the inmates in the jail. Even today also our National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission, it is a duty of them to visit all these jails and they will check whether there are human conditions in the jail or not. It is one of the function of the National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission. Okay? Yes. He gained the sympathy of the public, especially when he joined fellow defendant Jatin Das in a hunger strike. We have discussed just now. He died after observing a fast of more than 60 days. You try to remember the Jatin Das. Okay? Yes. So this is a brief information to be recollected about the Bhagat Singh. Okay, see, we have discussed in our routine classes Mopla rebellion. It was in course of the non-cooperation movement. Okay, who are Moplas? So actually, Malayali speaking Muslims, farmers in Kerala are called as the Moplas. Okay, actually, what happened earlier? They used to live on the coast as a fisherman. But what happened because of the intrusion of these European powers? They were forced to move inside. In course of time, they took the practice of cultivation to lead their livelihood. There started the clashes between the Hindu landlords and the Moplas. And automatically it is said that these Moplas will kill nearly 10,000 Hindus. Of course, by seeing in the paper, there is no authenticity of this news. The figure may be exaggerated, who knows? And what was the main cause of revolt? Because of the taxation policy of these landlords. And you know, landlords were given support by these British, and finally this Mopla rebellion was suppressed. But one point we have never discussed in our routine classes, there was a tragedy called as the Wagon Tragedy. That you have to remember. Wagon Tragedy. A wagon was carrying these Moplas, and that wagon was very tight, and due to suffocation, many people died. And even such kind of incident we have already encountered in our routine classes. What is that incident where more than 100 people died due to suffocation? What is that incident? More than 100 British people. Of course, there is no authenticity for that incident also, but we will study in our, we have studied in our, routine classes. Yes, Hallwell's black hole tragedy. You have to mention the name of the Hallwell, a historian whose accounts are incomplete, like your studies and notes. Okay, and you people are unable to answer the basic questions, and I don't know how you are going to appear the examination. Okay, yes, no issue, and that is your work. So, of course, as I explained, everything, I will lead this at a faster rate. Recently, the Indian Council for Historical Research has deferred its decision on a recommendation to remove the 1921 Malabar Rebellion martyrs from the list of India's freedom fighters. They are saying that, many people are saying that how you call them as the martyrs, because they fought with the Hindu landlords for the sake of their selfish ends. You cannot call them as the martyrs. It is argument of one section of people, but that was set aside by the historical research has deferred that idea. Because take the example of Jhansi Lakshmi Bai. She has not fought for the sake of independence of India. She was fighting for her kingdom, to regain her kingdom. Okay? Yes. So there are many issues like this. And the recommendation also included the names Variam Kunnattu, Kunhamad Haji, and Ali Musliar. What is the Indian Council of Historical Research? This is also important. It is an autonomous organization established under Societies Registration Act 1816, 1972. Societies Registration Act 1816, 1972. Societies are under state list or central list or in concurrent list. Swati. See, societies are under the state list, but one amendment in recent days has made a provision, constitutional mandate. What is that amendment? What is that amendment? What is that amendment? Which made a constitutional obligation. Those societies are under the state list. 97th constitutional amendment. Okay? Yes, my dears. Okay, thank you. Thank you. It is how to revise the subject. If you have 2 or 3 plates of tiffin buffet as a lunch, then you will get sleep rather than the interest to study. One of the famous person, when he was asked that what is the secret of your health, and he said that I will consume only 50% of the capacity of my stomach. Understand? But you people will enjoy 150%. Then how you will study? Okay, no issue. And some people will consume 200% also. Okay. Now, the important thing is, Indian Council of Historical Research is under which ministry? Ministry of Education. Yeah. Objectives: to bring historians together for exchange of views, because we are having diversified views, to have a conclusion, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. To have a good conclusion. To give a national direction to an objective and scientific writing of history. What is the meaning of scientific writing of history? Scientific writing of history. We have discussed in our mains classes, especially when I was discussing the NCRT, history NCRT. Now, who deciphered the Ashokan rock-ridge? James Princip, with lot of scientific base. Yes, lot of scientific base. That is the scientific writing of history. To promote, accelerate, and coordinate research in history and ensure its dissemination. What is the meaning of dissemination? Passing the things to other people. The council also provides grants, assistance, and fellowships for historical research. Okay, when you come to the background of this Mopla rebellion, just now I told you, when this European power came to the coast of Kerala, these people were forced to go inside to lead their livelihood because they cannot fight with these Portuguese. In the 16th century, when Portuguese traders arrived on the Malabar coast, they noted the Mapilas to be a mercantile community. What is the meaning of mercantile community? What is the meaning of mercantile community? Chandrika Garu. Mercantile community, Madam BCom Madhavi. Traders and business persons, mercantile law you will have in your BCom, mercantile law. Okay, no issue, Andy. It is common, and BCom people will don't know anything about their subject automatically. Even a civil engineer don't know what is viscosity. That is common nowadays. Okay, no issue, Andy. But I should know everything. Community considered in urban centers and fairly segregated from the local Hindu population. Fairly segregated from the local Hindu population. In that period, the colonies developed based on caste religion. From time immemorial in India, the colonies, the residences developed based on caste. You go to any village, the colonies will be based on the caste. Yet it is known truth. However, with the rise in Portuguese commercial power, the Moplas found themselves a competitor and increasingly started moving inland in search of new economic opportunities. Take the example of COVID-19. Earlier, we were giving only coaching offline. Now, online, new business opportunity. Okay? Yes. The shifting of the Moplas led to a clash of religious identities both with the local Hindu population and the Portuguese. Yes, they fought with the Portuguese also. Even in the Bengal also, we have discussed conflict between Mughals and Portuguese. In whose period? In whose period? Shah Jahan. Okay? Yes, very good. Who was Moplas or Mapilas? The name Mapila, I'm literally son-in-law, anglicized form, is given to Malayali-speaking Muslims who reside along the entire length of the Malabar coast of the northern Kerala. Kerala coast is called as the Malabar coast. By 1921, the Moplas formed the largest and fastest growing community in Malabar, maybe because of migration or population explosion. With a population of 1 million, 32% of that of Malabar as a whole, the Moplas were considered in the South Malabar. Even today also, the Kerala is having a considerable size of the Muslim population along with the Christian population. Now, actually, why these people revolted? Actually, they were against the British. One of the reasons was the Khilafat movement. What is Khilafat? See, in course of First World War, Britain will attack the Turkey and the power of Caliph was reduced. So, Indian Muslims were fighting to restore the powers of Caliph. Caliph is considered as the head of all Islam kingdoms in the world. And in India, Khilafat movement was started by Ali brothers, Syed Ali, Shaukat Ali and Jais Muhammad Ali. In course of time, they will request Mahatma Gandhi to become the president of that movement. Automatically, Gandhi will accept because Gandhi wanted to unite both Hindus and Muslims against the common enemy, British. So here, these section of people got incited because of furious speeches of their Muslim leaders. Okay? Yes. Fueled by the fiery speeches by Muslim religious leaders and anti-British sentiments, the Mopilas launched a violent rebellion. Numerous acts of violence were reported and a series of persecutions were committed both against the British and the Hindu landlords. While there are some who call it a case of religious fanatism, there are others who look it as an instance of struggle against the British. Both are there. Struggle against the British, so you can call them as the martyrs. I mean, struggle against the Hindu landlords, you can call it as the religious fanatism or communal riots. And there are others who perceive the Malabar rebellion to be a peasant revolt against unfair practice of the landlords, because landlords were extorting more and more money from the farmers. And on many occasions, farmers failed to pay the taxes. And then these landlords used to commit various atrocities. We have discussed in course of our routine classes various farmer revolts like Deccan riots or anti-Saukar rebellion. Many things we have discussed. While historians continue to debate on the matter, the broad consensus on the episode notes it to have started off as a struggle against political power, which later took on a communal color. Most of the landlords were Nambudri Brahmins, while most of the tenants were Mopila Muslims. Political movement converted into communal. That happens sometimes. Even nowadays also, our political system is always trying to polarize the votes by taking some or other issues, because they want to gain the popularity, that's all. Now the tickets are given to contest as MLA or MP based on caste equations only, followed by the money and muscle power, not depending on the brain of the candidate or capacity of the candidate to serve the people. The riots led to the mass killing of over 10,000 Hindus. It may be true or false, who knows? Raping of women, forced religious conversion, destruction or damage of nearly 300 temples. So temple destruction was common in the Islamic era because they opposed the idol worship. You know, many temples were destroyed, and in course of time, many were repaired. And history is cyclical. Again, you can see nowadays more temples, more mosques, more churches. Earlier, it was not the case because the purchasing capacity and the paying capacity of the people has increased like anything. If somebody comes and asks the donation, they will give 25,000 very easily. You can see number of temples increasing, number of mosques increasing, number of churches increasing. Everything is increasing, and even faith on God is also increasing. Yes. Loot and arson of properties worth crores of rupees and burning of houses belonging to the Hindus. Okay, and support. Earlier, this movement got the support of Mahatma Gandhi when it was political struggle. But as soon as it converted into communal struggle, Gandhi opposed that. And you know why Gandhi will stop the non-cooperation movement abruptly? What is the incident which forced Gandhi to stop the movement abruptly? That is the Chorizora Incident. Because Gandhi always followed the non-violent path. Gandhi never entertained the violent path. Okay. In the initial stages, the movement had the support of Mahatma Gandhi and other Indian nationalist leaders. But as it turned violent, they distanced themselves from it. Collapsed. By the end of 1921, the rebellion was crushed by the British, who had raised a special battalion, the Malabar Special Force, for the riot. And like to suppress the revolt of Allur Sitaramaraju, even Assam Rifles will come. And even in the last Sunday class, sir was also dealing about the Assam Contingency Force, which was established before the independence, if I am not wrong. Yes. Now the important thing is you have to remember this Wagon Tragedy. Just now I tried to recollect the Hallwell's black hole tragedy, and even such a case you are having the Komagatamaru incident. What is Komagatamaru incident, Madam Swati? Komagatamaru is the name of the ship where the the Sikh passengers were subjected to death. So because British will cite the immigration laws when these people try to onboard the ship at the Canada's capital or port city, Vancouver. We have discussed that in our routine classes. Komagatamaru is the name of the ship. And who was the captain of that ship? Komagatamaru. The ship was under the captainship of which person? Captain Gurmeet Singh. These are all basic questions you should not forget. And these kind of questions will make you to sail the state services very easily without any revision. Okay? Yes, of course, you will get the job set. No issue. See, why I took this topic only to make you aware of this wagon tragedy which we have not covered in our routine classes. Okay? Wagon tragedy. In November 921, 67 Mopla prisoners were killed when they were being transported in a closed freight wagon from Thiru to the central prison in Koddanur. Closed wagon because of suffocation. They died and they died of suffocation. This event is called the wagon tragedy. What were the reasons behind the Mopla revolt? Non-cooperation and Khilafat movement. Just now I told you what is meant by Khilafat movement. And non-cooperation and Khilafat movement were running parallelly. The trigger of the uprising came from the non-cooperation movement launched by the Congress in 1920 along with the Khilafat agitation. What is Khilafat agitation? It is a demand of Muslim people to restore the powers of the Caliph. Caliph is considered as the supreme of all Islam kingdoms in the world. Madam Swati, who is the first Indian king to be recognized by the Caliph as ruler of the Islam kingdom? Madam Swati. Who is the first Indian king to be recognized by the Caliph as the ruler of the Islam kingdom? Yes, Swati Garu. Yes, Bhagavati Garu. 2 members correct. Iltutmish. Iltutmish is the first Indian king to be recognized by the Caliph as the ruler of the Islam kingdom. And it is taking a lot of time for you to answer. Okay? No issue. No issue. Okay. Yes. Now, the anti-British sentiment fueled by these agitations affected the Muslim populace. You know what is meant by anti-British sentiment? Means against the British sentiment, because nobody in India were liking the British rule. Like when BJP government made the farm laws, especially a section of North Indian farmers were not welcomed by that, and they were against the Modi. And you know they observed protests maybe months together in the outskirts of Delhi, and even Supreme Court asked them not to stop the vehicles carrying the oxygen to supply to the COVID-19 patients. Of course, you people might be aware of all that kind of things. And finally, the farm laws were put to an end. Yes. New tenancy laws. You know what is meant by tenant? I am tenant in this building. So in that period, the tenant was not having any sort of right. After death of Tipu Sultan in 1799 in the 4th Anglo-Mysore War, Malabar had came under British authority as part of the Madras Presidency. Earlier, this Malabar was ruled by the Hyder Ali, followed by his son Tipu Sultan. And after the conclusion of Anglo-Mysore Wars, the total Malabar coast was occupied by the British. Yes, the British had introduced new tenancy laws that tremendously favored the landlords known as Janmis and instituted a far more exploitative system for peasants than before. The new system was exploiting farmers more than the older system, because in that period, land revenue was the major source of income. Unlike today, you are having corporate tax, income tax, GST, other user charges, cess, etc. But in that period, only land revenue. So all the rulers tried to extort more and more money from the farmers. Even take the example of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Of course, he also laid taxation on the Doab area. And which king of Delhi Sultanate levied 50% as the tax on the produce? 50% of tax on the produce. One of the highest. Alauddin Khilji. And what is the biography of Alauddin Khilji? What is the biography of Alauddin Khilji? Tariq-e-Ala or Kajain Ulufutu. Who wrote that book? Amir Khusro. Okay, just for recollection. Now, The new laws deprived the peasants of all guaranteed rights to land, share the produce they earlier got, and so simply their rights were deprived. That is sufficient because you are having n number of laws in India. So this is about the Malabar Rebellion, and the reason behind taking this concept is to make you aware about the Wagon Tragedy. That is very, very important. Now, yes, what is Sagar Parikrama? Why was it in news in the month of March? Sagar Parikrama. Okay, see, it was a program to know about the condition of fishermen in the Indian coast. And you know, India is having a vast coastline starting from Gujarat in western coast and starting from Bengal in eastern coast to Cape Comorin or Kanyakumari. And Indian fishermen are facing lot of problems. Okay, and to address their problems, okay, to build confidence, because in course of time and even nowadays also the fish has become an important source, and even the growth in that industry is double digit, that is more than 10%, and it is livelihood and also food security to millions of people. Okay, yes. Sagar Parikrama, the Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairying will inaugurate. Of course, this program was over. Sagar Parikrama, to know the problems of coastal fisher folk. Our coastal fisher folk are having the outdated trawlers. They are unable to compete with the neighboring countries' fishermen. Even Australia people will come very near to our exclusive economic zone, and they will catch the fish by using the most sophisticated trawlers. And even we are unable to involve in the deep sea fishing because of lack of knowledge, where you are having the unique species of fish which will give you more and more money for the fisherman. Okay, yes. It is a navigation journey to be conducted in all coastal states, UTs, through a pre-decided sea route to demonstrate solidarity with all fisher folk, fish farmers, and concerned stakeholders. It is envisioned as a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, saluting our great freedom fighters, sailors, and fishermen. Everybody we have to salute because everybody participated in the movement. Everybody has contributed for the freedom struggle. The parikrama will start from Mandavi, of course, over Mandavi in Gujarat, and even the first phase, and will be organized in other districts of Gujarat, and state duties in subsequent phases. Only the states which are having the coastline will have this program. Telangana is not having the coastline. Many states are not having the coastline. They will not have this program. Only the states which are having the coastline, they will involve in this. So from Gujarat, this side you are having Kerala, from Bengal, this side you are having the Tamil Nadu. Only these states will follow this program. Okay? The entire distance will be covered from the coastline of Mandavi and the coast of the Arabian Sea, situated at the estuary where the river Rukmavati meets the Gulf of Kutch, because we have never encountered this Rukmavati. Try to make a note of this. Rukmavati, a west flowing river. Okay? And you know estuary. What is estuary? All the west flowing rivers will involve in the formation of estuaries, not deltas. Estuary is a place where the river water and sea water will struggle to mingle because of difference in densities. Or a temporary formation of delta is also called as a estuary. A very popular question: on which side of Indian coast you will have the estuary? That is western coast. Okay? Yes. Now, the Rukmati river is a south flowing river originating in the central Kutch district and empties into the Arabian Sea. It will also conduct interaction programs with fishermen, fisher communities and stakeholders in these locations and districts in order to know the problems of coastal fisher folk. Just now I told you. Now even the hike in price of crude oil is also a very big loss for them, because they will use the diesel to run their boats. They are having a lot of problems. Okay, and even the middlemen are making the money. It is envisaged in the sea across the coastal belt, demonstrating solidarity with all fisher folk. Yes, it is over. What is significance? It will focus on sustainable balance between the utilization of marine fisheries resources for food security of the nation and livelihoods of coastal fishermen and protection of marine ecosystem. Yes, marine ecosystem also you have to conserve. If marine ecosystem is lost, there will be a lot of harm to the food chain. See, actually, what is happening, even in the breeding season also, these fishermen are entering the sea and catching the fish. In the breeding season, you will have only juvenile fish. If you catch the juvenile fish, you will discard that in course of time, and you are not allowing that juvenile fish to grow. So they are not following all such kind of rules and regulations. So everything should be made mandatory such that you will have a good fish production, and even the government will take steps to construct the cold storages such that fish can be preserved and it can be transported to other states or other countries also. Oceans are vital to the economy, security and livelihood of Indian coastal states. Very important. Just now I told you the growth rate is more than 10%. One is food security. India is the second major producer of fish through aquaculture in the world. What is aquaculture? Artificial fish ponds are called as the aquaculture. And Andhra is one of the leading producers of the aquaculture fish. India is the fourth largest exporter of fish in the world, as it contributes 7.7% to the global fish production. This stat is very important. 7.7% is a huge volume. Currently, this sector provides livelihood to more than 2.8 crore people within the country. Nevertheless, this is a sector with untapped potential. Yes, there is lot of potential, but we are not having the sophisticated equipment. The fishery sectors has demonstrated double-digit average annual growth of 10.87% since 2014-15, with record fish production of 145 lakh tons. Of course, this is very important. 10.87. It is a great achievement. Indian fisheries and aquaculture sector registering an average annual growth of 7.53 during the last 5 years. The country exported 12.89 lakh metric tons of fisheries, despite challenges pertaining to infrastructure. Just now I told you, we are having old trawlers compared to the foreign companies like Australia, which are having the sophisticated trawlers. So, despite of all these challenges, they are striving hard to achieve their targets. Despite challenges pertaining to infrastructure, the measures by the central government in the past recent years ensured that the fishery sector continued to register an annual growth rate of more than 10%. Okay, so this is about the today's class. I am very sorry that we lost 20 or 15 minutes of class because of failure of internet. Okay, yes, the next class will start at 9:45. Thank you, thank you, thank you.